Hello guys, this video will be in English because I want everyone to fully understand. This is not exactly a video about, no, this is not exactly a video with Norwegian practice material. This is a video that applies to any language that we are practicing or anything that we want to achieve or learn. And since this is on my YouTube channel, Norsk med Lena, quite obviously I'm talking about learning and practicing Norwegian today. And the reason I'm coming live now is just that I had a nudge to learn more about your struggles with practice. So many people tell me on a daily basis that, oh, Lena, you know what? I wish I spoke better Norwegian, but I don't practice. I don't find the time to practice, or yeah. So this is the subject of this video, and I really want this to be a conversation so that I can learn from you. And I want to talk a little bit about my perspectives on this. So I hope this is okay with you, and I'm going to do my very best to not offend anyone, because that is really, really not the point of this. So yes, let's say hello to the one person who is here at this moment, which is Max Rodriguez. Max Rodriguez. I probably did not say that right. Is that yes, Brazil? Do you speak Spanish over there, or is it Portuguese? It's Portuguese, right? Max is writing, I don't practice more because I'm in the very beginning of the study, so I don't have vocabulary enough to practice. I must be honest with you here, Max. And it's not the first time I come across this answer. And although I understand it and respect that belief system, I think it is important to start practice at the level you are at. So if the level is 3 Norwegian words, I would use those 3 Norwegian words every day. Every day. And I'm sure, Max, that you have 3 Norwegian words to share with me at the moment in Norwegian that you know. Come on, share it. Write it now. 2? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to ignore, because there is no 2 here. Or is it? Well, tell me, Max, what are the 3 Norwegian words? Hvordan går det? Yeah, that's a good sentence. In my dialect, hvordan går det? There already you have 3 words. And let's say that you have a conversation with someone and you are speaking English with that person. I would say hvordan or hvordan. Hvordan do we say instead of saying, how do we say? Just start to implement the words that you know, because people will understand you and you will get so much practice if you just use the words that you know. And you say, hvordan do you say tea in Norwegian? Hvordan do you say table? And then they say bord. Okay. So you start adding those words every time, and then you ask for more words, because I think that even though you just have 3 words as a starting, start to exchange that word with the English or Spanish or Portuguese or Chinese equivalent. Just start using that word. Well, if you know that the person you are talking to are going to understand that word in that language. I like drinking öl. Very good. So you see, honestly, I don't think there is any reason as to why we could not just start to speak Norwegian. And well, I speak Norwegian, but any language that we are trying to learn. So yeah, the other thing or reason, one of the other things I hear quite frequently is that there is not enough time. Do you feel that that is true? That there is not enough time to practice Norwegian? Well, we, unfortunately, all of us have learned that we need to be in a certain environment to learn something. And preferably, it should not be fun. It should be very serious and not fun. If there is something that we have learned from studies about studying or learning, it is that we learn so much more effectively when we have fun. And still people are holding on to the thought that we need to have books, we need to sit down in a quiet place and be serious before we can tap ourselves on the shoulder and say, good job, you are making progress, you are learning something today. I think that just having a conversation over a beer or 5 is just as effective, if not more, than going to a classroom or sitting in your own study and reading upon grammar and rules, because those things are important, but they are not needed in order to start practicing. Do you think any baby ever was like, not gonna talk because I don't know the grammatically correct structure of this sentence? Let me just check the comments. Kinda of. But I meet a group of Brazilian people who are learning too. Tell me, Max, this group, what are they learning? Are they learning Norwegian? And where do you meet with these people? Also, please share with me, where do you live in the world? You are right, this grammar problem is an adult thing. So I think that we as adults have taken a lot of fun out of things by being tested a lot, being put under high pressure and shamed for not doing it in a certain way. When we went to school, we had to do it in a certain way, and if we did a mistake, we were usually laughed at by the other students, and also some people were punished by teachers or parents for not being 100% correct, or for not making the progress that they would have hoped, or for not showing that progress. But I think that we are so different, and even we are all, when we are trying, we are making progress every day. The fault is within the system, who is trying to find a one-size-fits-all to measure if we are up to standards. And what that does to us, it just breaks our brain. It crushes our happiness. Well, it crushes our wanting to learn more, because we take the fun out of learning, and that is such a shame. And it follows us at such a deep level that people actually take this as a true thing, that they are not, either they say they are not intelligent enough, and if they don't make progress as much as they would have hoped, they just shut down and say, well, there's not enough time to become perfect in such short amount of time that I wanted to, so I'm just gonna stop trying, because then I can have the excuse that I'm not talking this and this language yet, because I don't have the time to practice. And I'm sorry if I am offending anyone now. This is not at all what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to get across here is that I believe that we all have this potential, but we have been programmed from such an early age to believe that learning is a daunting task and it has to happen in a certain way. Yes, they practice, but I keep my mouth shut, just listening and reading. I live in Salvador, Bahia, but I was born in Sao Paulo, which is a more famous city than the one I live in. So tell me, Max, I am curious to know, why are you learning Norwegian? If you live in, let me see, Bahia, why are you learning Norwegian? I think that is very interesting. I actually know about quite a few people who live outside of Norway, who has actually never been to Norway, and still they are efficient Norwegian speakers and writers. And I think that is so fascinating. I would love to learn why you are practicing Norwegian. I can see that there is a few other people watching right now, and I would be very grateful if you would just pop into the comment field and say, hello, I'm here, I'm from this and this place, I'm practicing Norwegian, or whichever language you are practicing, and tell me a little bit about your challenges on a daily basis when you are, when you want to learn a language. Max is writing again, I'm learning because of the Dimmu Borgir concert. Is that a band? Is that black metal or something like that? Because I know a lot of people around the world is fascinated by Norwegians or Norway and the Norwegian language because of the black metal music genre. Yes, I was right. Okay. Did I seem smart there? I hope so. Okay, so if there is anybody else watching here now, up until now, we have been talking about what kind of things we talk or say to ourselves and others, so we don't have to lose face telling about our level of a language. So if you're learning Norwegian and you don't speak it as well as you would like to, what are the excuses you are telling yourself and others? And this is not to punish anyone or to point the finger, because as I mentioned earlier here, we have learned so for such a long time that learning is boring and learning is daunting and it's hard, and you shall be tested and you have to score at a certain level in order to be good enough. And so many people, they want to be more than good enough. They want to be perfect before they even start to practice. And I just really love this saying that the things you have to do before you can do them, you learn by doing them. And that is so true with the language. You can't really read yourself to a fluency in speaking. You get a fluency in your speech by practicing, by making a lot of mistakes every day. And hopefully you don't make less mistakes. Hopefully you make more mistakes, but because the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. You just make new mistakes, which means that you learn something new. You learn more. Unfortunately, in Norway, when it comes to entrepreneurship, we have this idea that if you go bankrupt as an agency, not an agency, but as a firm, or if you start up something and you don't get the level of success that you wanted and get financially bankrupt, you are a failure. And many people don't want to proceed working with somebody who has gone bankrupt. And that is just so wrong, because somebody who has gone through the process and failed, have learned a lot more about running a business than somebody who never tried. They know this in California. If you have a couple of bankrupts, it's like, awesome, you have a lot of experience. You learned something. Let's use this experience. In Norway, it's like, oh, you didn't get it right the first time you tried. Oh, so sorry, man. And and I mean, like, if I was, oh, let me just start that sentence again. If I had to speak perfect English in order to have this talk with you right now, I couldn't. I just couldn't. My English is not perfect. But we can, in fact, understand each other, can't we? Max is asking, are you a professional teacher? I'd like to be a teacher someday, but I don't know how exactly it works. How do you plan your classes and stuff? No, I am not a teacher in that sense. I'm not. I have a love for languages. I have a love for people. I have a love for communication. And I am truly passionate about helping people understand how incredibly smart and potential creatures we all are. So that comes to life skills, and that comes to learning a language. I love learning languages myself, and I think it's very connected with a lot of things that we do in our lives. So I cannot really tell you much about how educated teacher would plan their classes and how it works. But my guess is very differently. And what I mean by that is that a teacher, I guess, is like people generally. They are different, and some people plan effectively and some people do not. But I can just imagine that being a teacher and not very structured must be immensely stressful and devastating to both physical and mental health, because I think it's very large responsibility and a lot of work. Well, the YouTube is a great medium. What an age we live in, where I can just be in an Airbnb apartment in Oslo, feeling a little bit, I don't know, excited about the day and a little bit lonely at the moment, because now I'm here alone and not out in the busy streets. And I'll just pop open my computer and say, hello, YouTube, who wants to talk with me? And I can share my ideas and get some feedback. Isn't that amazing? I think that is totally amazing. It's mind-blowing, actually. And Max is writing that I love it. I think pretty much the same. I like this thing of sharing knowledge. Yeah. Isn't that weird? You can actually go to YouTube and let's say you want to learn to dance salsa. Salsa. How do you say that? Salsa, maybe. And you can find lessons on how to dance in YouTube. Let's say you want to play the guitar. Let's say you want to wrap your brain around some large concept about the universe and philosophy. Well, you can find a YouTube channel that share those kind of videos. My personal favorite nowadays is Alan Watts. And I'm reading also a book now from a man called David. Oh no. Let me see. What's the name of the Hawkins? David Hawkins. And he has this book called Letting Go. And it's the art of surrender. And the reason that I mention this, it's because I think it's very important also in learning a language. And learning a language, it's much about letting go the need of perfectionism, letting go the need of having everything to be right the first time you try, letting go of being so afraid of having people judging you, which obviously YouTube is full of. And for me, that book is very, very powerful. And when I read it, I also think that it would be powerful with the thought of learning a language. We are so stressed about our feelings around not being good enough. And I think it's setting a real stopper for us to make progress. we could make so much more progress if we just let go of the belief system that we had to learn in a certain way, or had to make this and this much progress that will be measurable in a certain way in order to just do it, because we don't. But enough about that. Okay, so who wants to go for a Norwegian pronunciation round? And how this works is that you write a word that you want me to say, and I can say it in my dialect, which is Bergen dialect, and I can give a good try of the Oslo dialect. It will not be perfect according to Oslo people, but that is okay. It's pretty close. I am sure you will be able to understand me. It was unimaginable some years ago. We're from completely different worlds and we're talking to each other. Yes, I think it's... what a world. So, Max, tell me, is there any words in Norwegian that you're like, oh my God, how can I pronounce that? Can you think of something right now that you would like to hear me say in order for you to practice? It can be words or simple words. It can be a sentence. Obviously, I will not read anything that is inappropriate, and I don't think that you would write that. But come on, this is the internet, so somebody else might just hop in and write something that I'm not going to say. Now, it's not very many people in here, but you never know. Let's see. Okay. I'm just going to start by mentioning a few of the things that is in my room until I can see some comments coming in. I have a sentence on my own that I'd like to know the pronunciation of. Give me a minute and I'll try to find where I saved it. I will give you a minute or two. That is completely okay. So, in the meantime, I will just start pointing at the things that I can see around me in my room, or in this room, in this apartment that I'm renting. I am at the moment staring at my computer. Jeg stirrer på min datamaskin. I'm staring at my computer. Jeg stirrer på min datamaskin. That is my dialect from Bergen, and I'm going to try it in Oslo dialect. And it's okay if anybody hears this and wants to laugh. It's completely fine. I will probably laugh with you. Jeg stirrer på datamaskinen min. It's so much more of a sing to it in my ears. Well, that's how I hear how people from Oslo speak. Jeg. I say jeg. They say jeg. Jeg stirrer. I stare. Jeg stirrer. In Oslo, jeg stirrer. Stirrer. That is probably very awkward for somebody from Oslo. På datamaskin. På datamaskin. På datamaskin. Min. Min. Can you hear the difference in those two? And again, it's not perfect. It doesn't have to, but it does have the kind of song that I can hear Oslo people having when they talk. Here it is, Max is writing. That's a good sentence. I like it. Jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. Jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. I would say that with a little bit of a lifted eyebrow. Kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. Or maybe both. Kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. And what it means, for those of you who doesn't know, I couldn't care less. Or a little bit less nicely, I give a shit. Jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. In Oslo, I hear or imagine they would say, jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. Jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. Let me just repeat that in Bergen dialect very slowly. And now I want you to repeat, okay? Jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. Jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. Was that okay? Was the pace all right? Jeg kunne ikke brydd meg mindre. Is that a sentence that you would use often? Max is writing isha. It sounds maybe like I'm saying isha, but it's isha. And you are asking it's not with a K sound, and that is correct. In Oslo, they say ikke. They pronounce it pretty much like they read it. Ikke. In Bergen and most of the west of Norway and further north, they have different way of saying this word, ikke. In Bergen, we say ikke. In some places, they say ikke, ikke. In some places, they say ikke. In some places, they say ikke, ikke. So, ikke, ikke, ikke. Ikke or ikke. I probably repeated a few there. I'm sorry about that. But we have a lot of different dialects in Norway, and somehow we still manage to understand each other because they are not so far apart. Some people will maybe disagree. It depends how far away in the countryside you are living, and somebody from the far countryside in the west might have difficulties to understand somebody from the far countryside in the east or north. But if you go to the bigger cities, then there is really no big problem in understanding each other. No. Oh my God, I guess I'm going to have more problems to understand than I imagined. I understand why you would think that, and many people do experience that it's very hard. But I've also met quite a few people who say that once they cracked the code of the Norwegian way of speaking, they just really understood the dialects from the bigger cities. But don't be discouraged by that, because even I don't understand everything somebody say when they come from the countryside in some places of Norway, and that is normal, completely fine. don't think that it's your level of Norwegian or intelligence that is doing that, because some people just have a very broad dialect. And Norway is a very interesting country in the terms that the landscape is so divided, and we have so many fjords and mountains. So early, the countryside villages did not really communicate a lot with each other because it was so far to travel in between. So it was very small communities, and therefore, naturally, there would be differences in how the language evolved. Yeah. So, yeah. There is somebody else coming here, and it is Anguson. I'm just gonna go for Anguson, and I hope I didn't offend anybody by trying, but that was very hard for me to try to pronounce. Hello to you. Nice to have you here. Will you please tell me, where are you listening in from, and what is your current level of the language that you're trying to speak? And also tell me a little bit about the challenges that you experience when you are learning this language. Hello, David. So nice to see you popping in. I am live, as you can see, and we are just talking a little bit about challenges when learning a language, and our mindset and the excuses that we tend to tell ourselves because we are so afraid of not being good enough. Vi ses, David. Vi ses veldig snart. We will see each other very soon. For those of you who don't know, David and I, and a selected few other people, will soon be going on hyttetur in Norway and practice Norwegian while we make food and talk about the things in our surroundings, eat food together, and do normal things as we Norwegians do when we go to hytta, just like a cabin either on the mountain or down by the ocean. Well, we have a big tradition for going to hytta in weekends and in vacations here in Norway. Max is writing that if I travel to Norway one day, how or where could I find people to practice Norwegian? And, well, in my opinion, you can find people everywhere, every day. Because it's just about being very curious and also being a little bit bold at the same time as you are being humble. So dare to say that I am new here in your crooked Norwegian words. It's okay. And then you ask, did I say that correctly? I'm trying to learn. I would really appreciate if you could help me out here. And then they repeat, oh, can you please say that slower? I really want to hear what you're saying. And I would love it if you could tell me that, if you could tell me if I'm saying it correctly. This is how I take on another language when I'm learning. And in my experience, it doesn't take very long before you have enough vocabulary and can pronounce it good enough to be understood. And that is the most important thing, because just once you have a few words, you can just keep that ball rolling, and it will go faster and faster and faster. If you just keep your mind open every day and see every person as a potential teacher. Every situation